Welcome to the video everyone, and today we'll talk about some Dart concept. Let's check it out. I have prepared a list. We have we need to talk about classes, inheritance, imports, mixins, interface, and async. These are the few concepts that we basically use while developing a Flutter application or working with a CLI project. Okay, so indeed we will talk about these few concepts. I have already discussed other ones like basic ones in my previous one video, and for now we will come to these topics. Okay, so let's start with the class. I have already created some code like this one. Entry point, we have a void main function. Okay, and we'll begin with a class. So what's the use of class? A class can use to create a blueprint. Let's say we want to create a class with the class keyword and create a class name. So in this we follow a naming technique or naming way like camel case. So each word will have a first letter capital. Okay, spacecraft, we have a very basic class. Inside of this we can declare a variables, let's say string name. Okay, now it's saying non-relevant value, means for now a class is expecting that if you are creating a string that must have some value or otherwise declared as a nullable variable, means it must have some value or it must be ready to get a null by default. If I put a question mark here or I say nullable, that means this variable either have a string value or can have null value. For now it have null value, but I'm not giving this. I know that I will fill it out. Okay, so that's we create a variable. Now we also have a constructor, very popular concept from all other languages. So constructor is a very special function or method. Okay, yes, we call this void method as a function, and why class, whatever function we declare inside a class, we call it a method, because to access a function inside a class we need to use a dot. Okay, like operator called dot. That way we can access a class's function. That's why we call it method, so people can understand when we are using a function and when we are using a method. Okay, so for now we need to create a function. Let's create a constructor, or as a special method, magic method, that will get called automatically. So I will go with this. I will go there like this, spacecraft. Okay, so what I can do, I can just say this. Yeah, I want this dot name. Okay, let me show you a magic method. Like there's a more hard way. See, for now, whenever or someone will create an object of this class, it must, or he or she must have to pass a value for our string. So whenever he passes the value to this class, it will automatically get assigned. So we will get a value as here. We can also go like this, and I can print out, like you can do some basic things. So I can print here. This is constructor. Let's print something. This is constructor. Okay, so we have a constructor. Okay, so to call a constructor, you do not need to do anything at all. Just make a class object and it will get called automatically. Okay, and what if we want to call a constructor? So there is a cool way, I like it a lot. This spacecraft, I name something like this way, and we just giving it this name, this dot name. Okay, and let's call this. This is a, we can call it, this is a factory, or say a named constructor. This is a named constructor. There are few more details on the, what I say, um on this Dart page. I am still reading from here. I have prepared all the concepts from here, and there are very long list of concepts that follows on, but we will grasping the basic or advanced that is needed while developing application. Okay, so we have a named constructor, a simple constructor, and if you want to create a method, for now let's say method. Okay, So we simply can say that let's create a method. So method is followed by what type of data is written. So I will say nothing. So let's say void. What it will call. So it simply get declared as a lowercase function name. Yeah. Okay. So let's for now make it a name. So let's say get space craft detail. A pretty good big name, but yes, it's a good thing. See, if you creating a method, if you're creating a descriptive method, then it will be helpful for while developing and also for debugging purposes. You know that what's method do. So descriptive function, creating a distinct function or method is a quite good practice while being in Flutter development. Okay, so let's get started. So I say spacecraft name, spacecraft craft detail, and I put dollar here, and this will do the magic. This dot, what's the name? This dot name here. So for now, why it's not getting the full land? Like say, it's one showing that this is referring to the current class object, but why not? Because we having a dot operator using, so we need to enclose within curly braces. Now I have to work it out. So let's check is this code will run or not. So for that, I go here, I create a where object, or we can create const if you don't want to update any object, like don't want to make any change in this. So I just get here, I say my spaceship. Okay, and I create a spacecraft. So when we creating an object, we must need to pass a variable, sorry, data. I say UFO. Inside of this we print it out to print, we have methods that can do the our doc. So I will say my spaceship dot and get spaceship details. So what it needs, I have created an object that's storing the current class reference, and using the current class reference be using our method. That's why it's called method rather than being called as a function. Let's run it out. Okay, so no new changes. As you can see, the is working, and our constructor getting automatically called without being called. Okay, when I haven't called it out, but it's getting automatically. That's a functionality or default behavior of this constructor. But why not this one getting called? Because this is a names constructor. You need to call the name to, like now say that you want to call this constructor first. Okay, so we can call this here, I this here. So let not pass any value on this, I because let's make some changes on here. What this says. Okay, so it does spec, I will say, let's say default. Okay, not but much like this. This dot name equal. Then also anyway, okay, nothing. Okay, for now, I want to call the method, the name constructor. How can I call it? So I will say for now I will just call this put dot here, and it automatically shows us that there's a one more constructor called unknowledge. So we can pass object, we call the user class, call our constructor names constructor. With this we're calling not this method, not this class, but this one constructor. Okay, so save it, run it, and this is a names constructor. Now we not calling or we the space start constructor is not being called, rather than our name doesn't getting called. Going on to the next, we have some new thing like how to create a private variable. So there's a very easy way, just you put underscore. Okay, okay, got it. So I need to change it all. I will use the VS Code feature, control shift plus L, and now I can put underscore in here. Okay, so whenever we put underscore inside of inside a class with a variable, like say I'm creating a variable that has underscore to as a prefix, that means that variable is declared as a private, so it can't be accessed outside. Like say I want to print our ship name, so I will say my spaceship dot name. Okay, because I'm asking like this, still not must be working like this. Okay, it's working for now. Okay, okay, this means like this is a notation to show that this is a private variable. Okay, this is a very private value that only be available to this spacecraft class. And this concept called getter and setter that you guys must know. So let me tell you how it works. So I will say there's a string, okay, and it will be called get data, and I will note it out as get string get data, and it will just what it's gonna do. It will just return this dot. Okay, okay, yeah. So we have created a name. It will work as a getter. Get data equals this dot name. So rather than me creating this much long function, if you guys have only the single line, then you can use this. It's called getter. And similarly, there's a set method, set, or as I say change data. Rather than writing data, we can write as a what like that we want to change spacecraft name. So descriptive name. Go for a descriptive name. For now, let's go with this. I put data here. I just get string new name, and I put it here new name. Okay. So now we have getter and setter. So why does it make it similar? Because simple. We don't need to write use the braces. It's a single liner, more readable, and it always put it just after the property. Like say you have variable, you have getter and getter, and followed by a setter. It's not must, but knowing it's a good idea and good practice. So now what I can do, I just go here, print, and I want to use my spacecraft spaceship details. So I say get data. Okay, it's more like a property rather than calling as a method. If I run it now, you see, this is a UFO. Like that, you can also set out. Like say, I want to update this value, so just call it my spaceship, and use the method set data. Sorry, change data, and pass the details in here while saying imagination defined for spacecraft. It is there, huh? It is there. Why it's not setting? Okay, sorry, it's a property, not a for method. So that's why I'm just using it. So rather than being called as a method, it's getting called as a property. So I will update the data here. Let's put a name called put a random name. What I can put Galaxy. Let's say Alpha. Like now some looks like that we are changing by getting new name. So Alpha Galaxy. More like a that's this staff name. Just a random one. You guys can if you want you can put more thought in this. So this is all about. We have created a very basic class. Moving on to the next one, calling as an inheritance. Okay. So let's say that we have a spacecraft and we don't want to change this class detail once again. So we have a one core creation of the class and we want to like now use the inheritance way. Like we want to inherit, we want to make a new class that follows that already have this kind of functionality. We don't want to declare once again. Okay. So let's say I have a class and it's what it do, we call it orbiter. Let's say there's a subcategory of spacecraft. Okay, like these guys just moves around the planet and tell details. There's context I'm giving. Okay, nothing special. See, so I have extended spacecraft, but always expecting that superclass does not have zero argument. Okay, so constructor try declaring a zero argument constructor in spacecraft declaring okay. So what it says is that you guys, I say, when we are extending this spacecraft class, it expecting from us to give a value. So I can do this orbiter, mm, this dot name super, this dot name. Uh, let's be more readable about this. It's not getting readable. Okay. So I will say I'm creating an object orbiter, a class. In this, I will also expect a name similar to before. When I here, I say this dot super, this dot name. It's getting more and more helpful. Okay, I'm not getting thing. I think I guess now what it says. Can we do this automatically? Okay, okay, okay. So we don't need to do this thing. Okay, this one. The print child, or I say inherited. See, child girl, because if we talking about the inheritance means if we are inheriting this class or spacecraft class, so this means like this one is a parent and this one is a more like a child. So child class. So, okay, and now we can pass the data from here. We'll pass this dot name. I can't put the name. Okay, no issues. Class. Simply is because right now I'm placing my own parent class and my a child class. That's making no logic here. But if when we develop our application in Flutter, then in which you can understand, sometimes we extend something but we don't see any code and our app is running without adding any most of the lines. So what it does is behind the scenes, this class or the other many classes codes lots of code for us, do the lots of things behind the scene, and we get our app working. Okay, so that's what it does. Or there is a limitation on there that while extending or inheriting a certain class, you can only inherit once a class, like one, only one, nothing more, nothing less. You can extend only one class at a time. You can't extend multiple. That's the limit you have. To break this limit, we have a next called uh, interface and abstract. By using this concept, you can guys like get multiple implementation. Okay, okay, we need to learn about import first. So get started with this. So what does import do? So I will just create one more class or one more file. I will call it fun file learning. Let's learn. Weird naming sense I have. Sorry for that. Okay, I will just create a very basic class, and yes, what I did, I just created a class. I created a file name, let's learn a dot. And when we create a new file, if you are guys in VS Code and Android Studio, if you press, if you click Control plus bar, escape or Control plus space, then you will get a suggestion like this. So it's automatically a class for me. I will create a very basic method. Let's say void and print. No, let's not say print. Just create a constructor and this makes our work easier. Let's learn. I just put this here. Sorry for the forgot the parentheses. And in here, we just print these things out like that. I say, hey, this is from another file. Okay. So how can we call this method because this is another file? So this also will be using in our application. For now, let's try to understand that if I want to use this file or say this thing, this code in my main file, what I can do, I just make first I want to make this as a like this one, and let's go down there. don't look like this because I have extension. That's what making a cross line. Otherwise, you guys will not see anything this kind of thing. Okay, so I'm using extension for my see. That's why I'm getting red text, blue text, okay, highlighted text like that. So moving again comes again. Okay, I need to import a class. First, I need to create a variable. Okay, I will create a variable var declaration with declaration of var. In that, I will call the class learn. Let's learn. Okay, so given suggestion that let's learn class available, but you need to import this. Okay, so since we are getting suggestion, we click on this and for semicolon. So as you can see, this need to talk. Okay, so there's an import queue going on. It says that import let's learn dot file. So what it does, it's just getting our code, or I say this file getting imported here, that makes available all the code of that file to in this main file. Now we can access the code. So let's learn, or let's learn. And if we run now, see, we getting code from another file. That's the power of the imports. Okay, I got too much excited and I made a video too long, so I will break in two parts. So this is the part one and wait for part two. See you guys in next video.